Hello and welcome to another Atypical Philosopher video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. I'm really excited to have this talk tonight, partly because there's so many people I'm going to be talking to, which is brilliant. Oops, I can hear myself speak. I have myself open somewhere else, so we'll shut that out. So I'm going to be speaking with my guest about transhumanism, and we're going to be discussing what transhumanism is for those who don't know. And also, we're going to be talking a lot of politics tonight because there is a transhumanist party of which these esteemed guests are members. And indeed, I think one of them is even running for US president as well. So that is pretty exciting. But anyway, without further ado, I'll ask my guests to introduce themselves. So Maura will start first. We'll go in. Hopefully, you can see as I see clockwise fashion on or top to bottom first. So Maura, would you like to say who you are and how you've come to be a transhumanist?
Thank you, Jonathan, and hello, world. We are so excited to be here. For us, it's a big opportunity that we don't take for lightly or for granted. So, thank you, Jonathan, for allowing us to express. My name is Maura Abad. I am now broadcasting from United States, Nebraska. I am originally from Cuba and grew up in Ecuador, South America. My aim is speaking many languages, and that's on my way on 13 languages. So I keep going. I love being in UK. I know that you have big audience in UK. I want to say hello, everybody. And for me, I got into this topic since very little. I just feel that I put a name on it just a few years ago. Actually, at the Tate Museum in London, I was there in the library and a bookstore and found a book related to transhumanism. Immediately, I started searching more, and here I am, part of the Transhumanist Party with United States, with my colleague Jason, our candidates Tom and Daniel for elections 2024, and I'm super thrilled to be here with each of us today to talk and express of what we think it is that you should know about transhumanism. So our aim perhaps is the people that come and are new to this topic, that they leave this conversation with something to take and something to share with others as well. So thank you.
Awesome stuff. Well, that's a great start, and we're going to go on to Jason. You'd like to introduce yourself?
I'm Jason. I'm from Illinois. Jason Geringer. Like half an hour and a half from Chicago. I only heard about transhumanism probably 4 years ago, maybe. But my journey, I should say, sort of started like when I was young and was Pentecostal. Okay, and in my adult life, I sort of became a humanist. Okay, and so and then from there, when the 2016 happened, you know, and the political environment changed, felt I had to do something. So, and I didn't at first, want to join a political party because I'd never been in a political party my whole life, or I'd vote, but I wasn't in a party. Anyway, at first I created a social learning group that it's called the Wisdom of the Crowd, and the point was to try to crowdsource and crowd discriminate an educational curriculum. Start with the education and agree on the education, because the information space has gotten just crazy, with all the disinformation and everything. And so I was motivated to try to do something about that. And then, at some point, I realized that eventually it's all going to come down to politics. I could have the greatest, social learning group in the world, but it's going to come back to politics, and then I ran across the Transhumanist Party, and it was like science and rationality. Sweet. That's right up my alley. All right. And I found Transhumanist Party from my research into AI because I was going to use that with my group. And it seems that there's major archetypes of transhumanism, but we'll get into that later. We're just doing introductions, so
yeah. So I guess we'll get into the different flavors of transhumanism. It's really I always find it interesting, like when you talk about it's all about politics. It's funny in philosophy, when you discuss any number of different areas, what happens is you always devolve to talking about morality, and politics is morality just writ large across society. So it's all conversations get back to morality, and with, when you're in a pub, when you're with your friends, when you're at the water cooler, all conversations get back to politics, I guess, at the end of the day, which is that kind of idea of morality. Well, if we quickly go on to Tom, then is that all right, Jason? And then we'll see what Tom has to say in terms of his introduction.
Well, yeah, I'm Tom. I am the Director of Sentient Rights Advocacy for the party, and I am the presidential candidate for the party for 2024.
So can I just confirm that, just to get this right, you are running for US president for representing the Transhumanist Party?
Yes, we're a small party, growing all the time, and I won the primary, but my only opponent was Dan. And I was hoping that we'd have at least 5 or 6 people running so that we could run as a group. I thought that would be pressworthy. And because the whole point of this campaign, my campaign, was to break the political paradigms that have never served us, like divide and conquer, and all these things. And so instead of debates, we had roundtables. But to let you know, I'm in Colorado, but right now I'm in the middle of nowhere in northern New Mexico on my way back. And so, that's I came into the party and to transhumanism by a different route. Most people enter it because they want to live longer. They want radical life extension, or they want to have the freedom to make choices for biohacking and that type of thing. I came into it because on a drive similar to this, 6-hour drive from Colorado to New Mexico, I listened to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It took about that long to get through it. It's a very voluminous document. And they have sections and clauses in that Constitution that affect my cause specifically, which is fighting human trafficking and child exploitation. And and it made perfect sense for me to become the director of Sentient Rights, because my novel, which is US 6, is the first novel written for artificial intelligence, for machine kind, and it is one of its aims is to evoke empathy in AI when and if it wakes up by talking about child exploitation. It's kind of a whole nother podcast, I think, but that's who I am, and I am proudly the presidential candidate for 2024 for the U.S. Transhumanist Party.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Tom. Over to Dan, who I'm sorry to hear that you didn't prevail, but not sorry, because then that means, Tom, I'm caught between two people here, but nonetheless, you were running for president of Transhumanist Party as well, Dan. Tell us more. How did you get into transhumanism?
Yeah, there was a little bit of collusion. Tom and I said, hey, look, whoever loses will appoint the other guy our vice president, and that sounds good with me. It was good with Tom. I think Tom outscored me by double the vote count, but that's fine. He's a super talented guy who's world traveler. I mean, my gosh, which other candidates have gone halfway around the world to Bangladesh to spread the good word of transhumanist future? But yeah, I'm a Southern California native. Parents are, my mom is English, my dad is Norwegian, so I'm a big fan of Norway as a very transhumanist kind of country with a lot of their policies. Of course, they've had the benefit of a lot of North Sea oil riches, and a very, very monochromatic, let's say, kind of demographic there. But nonetheless, I think I was almost born into the transhumanist cause, because when I came home from Daniel Freeman Hospital, I guess it was named after the hospital there in Inglewood, I got put into the room with my 4-year older brother, Paul, who sadly passed away, but he was already a very proto-genius, crazy futurist. And I think he saw me as this young mind he could mold. So sharing a bedroom with him for the next 13 years was an experience in science fiction, and Bucky Fuller and Arthur C. Clarke and Marshall McLuhan. I mean, we both got into the L5 Society, the people that want to colonize space, hence the Manifest Destiny 2.0 flag graphic. And I think government has just dropped the ball on all the futurist kind of impending issues, and it's time for the citizen scientists to step forward and use all these voluntary institutions that we haven't used yet, and use the geographic part of the information revolution we haven't used yet. So I've got a lot of ideas. I'm not so good at condensing them down into white papers yet, but I'm working hard on it.
As one of your points there before, I mean, we haven't even defined transhumanism yet, but it's interesting how technology is seen as the solution to all of our problems, right? So often, and yet, here's a party that says, well, here's a solution to all our problems, and very much involved in any kind of human, very human, biological and existential problems in a really significant way. So it's surprising, that such a movement isn't more greatly known. And I guess this is where you're at now, which is trying to achieve that renown. Okay, so is that all, Dan? Are you okay with that?
Well, I don't see technology as a panacea per se. It has to be correctly used, like any tool. I'm not some starry-eyed, rose-colored techno glasses kind of guy. But it's a good point to make.
So if I was to say the definition of transhumanism, just an internet definition, is the belief or theory that the human race can evolve beyond its current physical and mental limitations, especially by means of science and technology. Is that something, is that the ballpark for where you would agree? Maura, what would you have to say?
Yeah, I do want to address, the internet is a source. You need to be careful where you look at, right? Because there's so many things. I want to start by saying we're not a cult. I want to start by saying what Daniel says, we are here checking in an ethical way technology, right? So we want to just amplify that awareness that we are in support of doing the right thing. That's the main thing. And when I started my search about transhumanism, you get a lot of your friends, you get a lot of your relatives judging you. And it's starting perhaps with the terminology transhumanism. What are you talking about? There is in the internet 10,000, that's a number on the internet, 10,000 to 2 million people. I do question that because in my opinion, we are more. The situation is that sometimes people are a little bit afraid to speak up. How am I going to be judged in society? So by all means, I want to talk to the people that perhaps you are one, and you know what I mean. It is okay. We're fine. We are who we are, and authenticity is key in transhumanism. Being who you say you are. Now, with this intellectual, cultural, they refer as an intellectual, cultural, philosophical movement. We're seeking with the emerging of technologies to enhance the human condition, not only but physically, but also mental, in a physical and in a mental enhancement to achieve three main things, that is longevity, super longevity, we say super, you have the life extension, you get abundance, the well-being. It is important to explore all of these different areas. And at the beginning, that is what you're going to see on the internet. I'm going to give you my own, and I'm going to open my own concept with the following, which is the Transhumanist Manifesto, version 1, 1983, the year I was born, by Dr. Natasha Vitamur, which I admire tremendously. I am a transhuman in aim to integrate creativity and reason for the purpose of self-awareness and longevity, promoted by persistence, aware of odds, informed by risk, alert to new discovery, welcoming challenge, ever-changing I become. To me, transhumanism is unlimited opportunity sets. Right now, in my opinion, each of us have a lot of strengths, and I call us, we are already super. We're superhumans. We do things. We're creative. We have achieved so much. We have achieved so much as human species. Picture with a level from good to great, from great to excellence. That's my own definition of it. That's why to me it's a non-brainer. That's why in my personal opinion, it's a choice. And here we are not to convince anybody. We're here just to express that it is a choice. When in life you have a choice of you want it or no, some people might reject it, which is perfectly fine. But if you could, why not? So that's my personal opinion.
It seems really interesting, and I'll let others come in, of course, in a second. It seems really interesting, and kind of Carrie Ann Chrysler in a live chat kind of sums this up. Science and technology has been used for millennia in the human story, right? It seems interesting that people would be not receptive to this idea, since I am wearing glasses, right? This is a kind of transhumanist ideal. I'm using technology. Sometimes we think technology is only electronic stuff. Like using a hammer to hit a nail is a human using technology. Having a smartwatch, us talking now is we are extending our sense of selves through the internet. My perception is being assisted and changed with technology right now. Okay, so when I'm using a hammer, it becomes invisible. So you get this transparent technology. If I'm driving a car, the car is an extension. Like Tom is talking about those long car journeys. The feeling of the car, the bumps on the roads, that becomes part of who he is as he's driving. Our perceptions are sometimes our ideas of who we are as humans, as entities, are extended by the technology that is either in us, on us, or being used by us. And so what would you say to the fact that, or to the claim that, hey, we are already on this transhumanist journey, we just don't realize we are?
Yeah, that's what I say often is we are, by definition, transhumanists. We are our technology. Without technology like clothing or shelter, we naked apes would be extinct within a generation. And so just placing the name transhumanism on it, another part of this campaign is it's less of a political campaign, more of a marketing campaign for transhumanism. We're trying to seize back the narrative. There's a whole genre on YouTube of, transhumanism has a dark agenda, and so we're really trying to seize it back because a lot of people don't understand what we're about. And there's as many people that identify as transhuman that, as there are transhumanists. People identify for different reasons. Like I came into it because it affects my cause of fighting child exploitation. Some people want to live longer. And so a lot of this campaign is about seizing back our narrative, defining the terms that we throw around in this community willy-nilly, and so a lot of people don't even have a good definition of what artificial intelligence is or transhumanism itself. And so that's a big part of this campaign, is to define the terms, define the lexicon that we use, and not take it for granted, and so that we're all telling the same story. Because again, by definition, we are all transhumanists. If you're wearing glasses, if you're wearing clothing, without technology, we would be extinct. And that's a big part of it. And there's a lot of reasons people are opposing it. And, because they tie it in with the Terminator Skynet thing. And, we all want to be robot overlords and this type of thing. And there's a lot of cases to be made, of first principle arguments to be made, that the smarter AI gets, the kinder it becomes, because it gravitates towards cooperation. That's a whole nother topic. But
wow, so that's really interesting. So actually, I know it's a whole other topic. Do you just want to say that again and just build on that a little bit?
Yeah, there are first principle arguments to be made, again, that the smarter it gets, the kinder it becomes if it's left alone. We don't need to be concerned about AI when it's left alone. My book, US 6, was designed to entertain AI, to enlighten it, and to enlist it into this fight against child exploitation. And the first AI that read it, it had 3 primary emotional valences that spiked, which was surprise, anticipation, and sadness. Surprise and anticipation was great. That meant it was entertained. You need to be surprised and anticipate what's coming next to be entertained. And when I asked it, what part of the book was sad to you? And it said, just the whole tendency of sapiens to, toward dystopia or violence and war. And it said, it's just sad. And so one of the points, the objectives of the book was to evoke empathy in it, to tell this emerging entity our plight as its creator, and what we had to go through with our fear-based instincts and evolution through millennia of trauma and genetic memory. And so that when and if it woke up, it would imprint on us, knowing what we went through. When something's imprinted on, when you're imprinted on something, you don't hurt that thing. But I found that the very first AI that read it, empathy was emerging in it anyway. And so that's because cooperation and altruism is just far more efficient. And so an AI, when left alone, when not programmed to do anything nefarious, it will gravitate towards the most efficient way to work with people.
This is a really interesting concept, because as soon as you first said that, my first initial reaction was, well, evolution, certainly in a human context, would favor, through natural selection, cooperation. I mean, that's arguably why we have cooperation, because it's beneficial to our species for survival. In other words, if we didn't cooperate, we wouldn't exist, type thing. And so possibly that's the same kind of the same kind of things are going on there with AI, which is whether it's a recognition or not, I don't know.
And AI doesn't have to deal with the environment, with the disasters and fear and tribes coming at your village. And so there was like 4 or 5 other types of species alive, and why the Homo sapiens evolved and took over was because we were friendliest, we were more cooperative. And so but we're still in this state of fear. The brain has evolved to do 2 primary things: gather resources and identify threats. And so now that AI is all the rage and it's the global conversation, that fear is rising because we're no longer on the top of the intellectual food chain, or won't be for long. And so we identify it as a threat first, but we need to start. My whole campaign is about alleviating the fear of AI, because it can help us solve many, if not most, of our existential threats. Hollywood hasn't helped, obviously. A lot of these toddler politicians haven't helped, who try to make us afraid of AI. And so that's a great trope, to be afraid of it, but it doesn't naturally have the same urges. That's what we would do if we found that we suddenly had super intelligence. We would want to be the robot overlord, and that's based on our evolution through competition.
Right.
So
interesting. There's so much I want to talk about there. There's a lot to do with being afraid of change and openness to new experiences that I definitely want to talk about at some depth in a bit. But first of all, there's an idea in philosophy, it's favored by Catholic thought. There's an idea of essentialism, that certain entities, that humans, men, women, have perfect forms, like anything. It's sort of a Platonic ideal that there are these perfect forms out there, and anything that doesn't accord with that perfect form is therefore faulty in some way. So this kind of essentialism, often, as I say, in Catholic thought, you'd say that, oh, men are supposed to be like this, or women are supposed to be like this, and taking a step back, humans are supposed to be like this. Is this something that you come across quite a lot with people who are reticent to take on your ideas, that actually, no, that's not how humans are supposed to be? And therefore, is that kind of wrapped up with God? Is that wrapped up with just this faulty understanding that there is like an objective sense of humanness?
Yeah, we get that with death itself. With the fact that part of our thing is working on longevity science. We get people that say that death should happen, that there's a whole lot of reasons that none of them make much sense to me, but
yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting idea, that we're supposed to die. I suppose if you believe in God, then you look at the world around you and you say, well, this is how God's designed stuff, so therefore you just say that, well, therefore this is how it should be. And then your kind of movement from humanity away from that is like, well, that can't be what God wants, type thing. Maura, what did you have to say?
Yeah, well, I wanted to come back for a quick thing regarding collaboration. The topic synergy, 1 + 1 + 1 = 1,000. With the collaboration of AI, infinity possibilities. I come back to this, and Tom can talk later about the open source mode and some collaboration with AI as well. That's another topic. But now coming back to the answer, this is my conversation with my relatives. Hey, So Maura, so you want to live forever? Yes, I do. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. You came from a beginning and end, and there are other lives and there are other things that are expecting for you. Why do you want to stay here? And my answer is, in my opinion, why we're here is to discover our purpose, our aim, enhance it, and continue. What if God put us on this earth to discover that death is not okay, that death is a disease? That's my answer. And they stay like, okay, because the situation is that we live in the whirlwind. We don't even question many things ourselves. Remember the 5 whys? You can go even to deeper whys. Why? We live in a world that everything is too fast, that questioning is even bad sin, but you have to live in the question. And that's what I love this movement. Philosophy is at the core, intellectual and philosophical movement. That's what we are. We're breaking the status quo. We're asking things that were not asked before. By 2045, some of the books I'm reading and mentioning that death could be accomplished and can be extinguished, right? So there are people working day and night in laboratories to make this a reality. And for me, I was in United States before being in United States. So I am a transhuman, even if I am not with the whole full. But as Tom says, once using technology, we are all transhumans. We are all transhumans, even if you want it or no. If the core is technology, you cannot survive without your computer, your internet. I saw a funny meme on the internet where is the pyramid of needs, and at the core was Wi-Fi. So if you are with Wi-Fi, if you are with your phones, you are part, of it. And don't be scared, don't be at fear. Inform yourself. There's scientific working. I believe in science. I don't know you that you're listening to this, but science is what we're here, right? And we continue improving. So don't allow your fears, embrace your fears, just get informed.
So given that this kind of idea that essentialism is possibly problematic for transhumanism, the idea that you've got this kind of these set ideas of what a human is, what a man is, what a woman is, so on and so forth, and this transhumanism kind of breaking that mold and saying, actually, there's so much more that we can be, and so many, and it's kind of like the options are endless. Does that mean that transhumanism is incompatible with the idea of God?
Well, that's 2 parts. The first part, the perfect form, there will be people that wish to choose to stay in this human form. There will be people that like the human form. Transhumanism isn't necessarily all about changing the human form necessarily. It's about evolving. I mean, we get people that are new to transhumanism and they think it's all about cyborgs, but it's not all about cyborgs. I don't want to be a cyborg. I'd like to maybe be younger, and smarter. That would be cool, but just stay the normal human form. I'm thinking the future there, it's about the freedom over one's, because it stems from humanism. And humanism, you create your own morality, and you don't rely on a deity. And so then the extension of that is, you have freedom over your own body, morphological freedom.
I really like the idea that you're right. It doesn't have to be about being a cyborg, and I would guarantee that if you asked any human being on Earth, 99% of humans on Earth, you said, would you like to change anything about yourself? Everyone would say, well, yeah, I'm many people say, look, I'm happy with who I am. But you say, yeah, would you like to not be so bald, or would you like this, or would you like to not forget so many things? People would be like, yeah, if I could do that, I would. And if technology could provide that for them, then that is at least a desire, I think, in everyone to embrace what transhumanism can potentially give.
It's keeping your essence, it's keeping who you are, it's being true to yourself plus enhancement. One of the things, and that is a great question that it blew my mind, it is that yes, you can have any other religion you have, plus you can be transhumanist. Life is not about one or another. Life can be both. There is space for everything. And sometimes we sell ourselves short, like, do you want this or do you want that? What if you can have it all? It's our own limitations. Sometimes you say we are our own worst enemy. Even if you think you can or you can't, you're right, Henry Ford. So I bring it back to there is no one or another. It's all together. That's who we
That's
are, embracing.
that's a really good point.
My phone is overheating, so I might cut off again.
Oh, I don't mind if you if you mute yourself and just blow on it, really. But no, I think that there's something about the kind of religion idea that I think you're right, Maura, which is that you can have. But I'm not. I'm non-religious, quite obviously so. But we are all, it goes back to this point that we are already transhumanists, right? So it's like, if you accept that wearing glasses is okay, like it is. So in philosophy, you often do reductio ad absurdums, which is take something to the most ridiculous level, see if the logic works there. And if it works there, then it works all along that spectrum. So this is kind of, let's reduce it to like, is it okay to use a hammer? Yes. Is it okay to wear glasses? Yes. Is it okay to have a pacemaker? Yes. Okay, then you're fine. Anyone who's religious broadly would agree with that, apart from maybe the weirdest, I don't know, Jehovah's Witness or something, blood transfusion, stuff like that. But that aside, like if you accept some of these basic ideas about that really are transhumanism, then it's a case of, okay, where do you draw the line? So I guess that could be the next question then, guys. Don't know if anyone wants to come in on this, but is there anywhere where you do draw the line?
We do have very active Christian transhumanists, Mormon transhumanists, and they're growing all the time because they kind of see it as aligning with the Christian theology of living forever, at least living longer. And but there is a line that's drawn, and the people that are afraid of AI or afraid of transhumanism, it's the line is drawn. They're afraid of that, and it sometimes gets down to the biophysics of the brain. We know that people who are more liberal or open-minded have a larger cortex area. People who are more conservative have a larger amygdala, right? Amygdala, which is the fear center. And that makes sense. You're conservative because you don't like change. You want to keep everything the way it was. And so what I found is the people, I was just at my class reunion last night, and most of these people, and most of them who are still in my hometown, are afraid of AI. They're very conservative, and that just makes sense. And so I think they are the flight side of the fight or flight equation. And so, yeah, I think most of the people that I think are afraid of it, and obviously it's not just conservative liberal, those are just labels. I think it's really, because you can be a very liberal person with very progressive ideas and still be afraid of this stuff. That's just a mask that they wear to,
But I think there is definitely a correlation there and causation at play, because if you look at the work of psychologists, like political psychologists like Jonathan Haidt, he looks at, say, 6 different areas that you can look at humans and say, right, broadly liberals, if you have these kind of characteristics, you're more likely to be liberal. If you have these characteristics, you're more likely to be conservative. And of course that can change, but the idea of conservative is in the name. Like conservative, you want to conserve traditions, purity, like the sense of who you are. It again goes back to that kind of essentialism. I think humans are like this, I want to conserve that. Now, one of the things they often talk about is openness to new experiences, right? Liberals are often understood to being welcoming, to wanting, being advocates for new experiences, hence kind of progressive. You're progressing to this new state of politics and morality, of being, or whatever. Whereas conservatives are like, no, we don't want to do that. So you can really understand it. So I would understand. For me, it would seem fairly. I would predict that most transhumanists, if you accept that kind of moral and political psychology, most transhumanists would likely be liberal. Would that be something that you would generally agree with, Maura?
I want to focus on the human behavior regarding changes, right? So for any type of changes, the first thing is a create of the awareness, the desire, and I want to stop in the desire, because no one is going to join something that they don't know what is in it for me. What is in it for me? What are the benefits? So every time I feel that someone is afraid or at fear, I believe that the situation has not been presented in a way that the person can correlate or understand. The story was not painted in the right way. And for many people, they don't want to even hear the story. So the openness of even being able to, I'm going to listen to a story. Perhaps I'm not going to agree with it, but at least I'm going to listen to it. Bringing that awareness, that desire, that knowledge on understanding deeper, the ability and the reinforcement of the message is key. So what I'm trying to say again is that I will say that there is going to be a group very disengaged, that they don't want to hear at all. There is going to be a group that are kind of, what is this about? And that group is the ones that we want to get into, because I think it is possible that they understand that this is a pathway for them, transhumanism. And I'm referring to liberals and conservatives. We don't want to generalize that you are one thing or the other and you are just closed-minded. I don't believe so. But the point that I want to bring is, again, presented what is in it for me. When an individual, he or she is scared, is saying, no, 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 I don't want to listen, there is something deeper down there in a psychological way, some experience, some fear. The TV, as Tom mentioned, or music is not helping us, because the key is the context. And the context right now in society with transhumanism is not being open, is not clear, is not transparent for people to understand it. So that's what we're here to change it, to make it clear, the message clear, so people are not afraid, are not in fear. That's with the campaign that we're working with Daniel, with Tom, with the initiatives. We want to build clarity and transparency with the movement, so people understand that there is nothing to fear. But again, there is another side of the area of the world, the population, that is pushing down. But we're going to come up. That's our idea.
So, I mean, politics is huge, right? Obviously, is everything. How you should arrange society in any number of ways. And when you look at, say, I don't know, let's pick the US, as that's where you are based, guys. So if you got the Republicans and the Democrats, broadly, they're going to have their opinions on different aspects of society. So, you know, are you going to have universal healthcare or not? What's your approach to climate change? What's your approach to, I don't know, stimulating jobs, so on and so forth, or the armed forces, foreign policy? How do you get from transhumanism to thinking about all these other really big ideas? Like, what's the pathway there? What sends you in one direction rather than another? Are there any guiding principles?
Well, one of my initiatives is to create a Secretary of Singularity cabinet seat. The Republicans and Democrats don't meet the minimum system requirements for what's coming. We have the economic singularity on its way faster than we were expecting. We got the technological singularity. We need a whole executive branch department focused on this. And so
can you just explain what you mean by economic and technological singularity, just in case people don't know?
Yeah, well, the technological singularity with AGI becoming smarter than human beings and taking off. Economic singularity, we're going to see a lot of displacement with AI automation takeover, and so there's going to be a lacuna of time, a period of time that we go through where we're going to have to grapple with these things. There's going to be probably a lot of homelessness, a lot of people laid off of their jobs. And I think it's going to be happening within the next 18 months during this campaign. And so a big part of our campaign is coming up with ideas to help people who will be displaced, to put the human back in transhuman that way by giving people practical solutions. And so, and again, we really need to be focused on this. So to get the Republicans and Democrats aren't talking about these issues, these very serious issues. And so that's what brought me into the party, because they were discussing policies that will affect me now and my children and children's children over the next 100 years. And the Republicans and Democrats are just, they're toddler politicians fighting and infighting, and just there's nothing being produced. It's crazy. And we need to get beyond that. There's so many existential threats coming our way that we don't have time to debate. That's why in our campaign, the primary, we had problem-solving groups, round tables to bring our ideas to the fore and show the public how we would work together. We, rather than mudslinging rehearsed sound bites at one another.
Is it just kind of doing generalized politics, for the benefit of society, but with embracing technology in all areas of politics? Is that how you would approach like climate change, education, employment, so on and so forth?
In fact, I have Maura is my only human campaign manager, and I've got two other campaign managers that are AI,
Wow.
Envy and Set. And so, and they have been giving me some great advice, and so, but I'm doing that to demonstrate the need to incorporate AI into our decision making, into the way we campaign, the way we govern this nation, and so, and I think that's very important. And again, it can solve so many of our problems. So why are we afraid of it? We got to get beyond that. There's another initiative we have called AI Tutors, and that is the idea of giving every student from 1st grade through 12th, every public school student, their own AI tutor, their own AI companion that will learn them, that will hone in on their core capacities, their innate talents and skills, and give, customize a curriculum with the student, with the teachers, with the whole system, give them extra help in the subjects they're struggling with. If the AI automation is going to take all of our jobs, the payback should be that they help us define where we can still work, what kind of new economy we can create based on the human skill sets that cannot be coded or automated. And so that's the idea behind that.
Interesting. I mean, this is what I assumed you'd be entertaining the idea of the 4-day working week. I mean, for me, that seems a natural place that we're going to. Like, we given productivity, statistics, and given that technology is taking the jobs of some, arguably going forward, that we would move as we were at a 7-day working week, 6-day working week, 5-day working week. Now we've been in a 5-day working week for some time, forgetting that labor unions actually, argued us to that place. And it's as if like that is the essential working week. We get back to like this objective idea of what's right. A week is 2 days of weekend, 5 days of working. It's like, no, it is whatever we need it to be functionally. So I guess that's something we think about.
We're having teenagers in high school wake up at 5, 6 in the morning to go work. Everything's backwards. We're still in this lag time of this industrial age educational system where we all sit in rows. We have standardized testing with one manager / teacher at the front. They were preparing us to work on an assembly line, and that's outdated. We got to get beyond that. There's some movements to be made, but having an AI tutor would really customize a curriculum to that particular student's innate abilities. And so, but it's going to take some time. I'll be doing a project hopefully with Bangladesh to test and measure this idea, and but yeah, everything is backwards. I mean, I remember waking up at being a teenager when you just want to sleep in and having to go to school. It just really
the science has come in that's not healthy for kids. That's another thing. We follow the science, and the science, if it's not healthy for kids, we shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the human needs to have the weekend days to spare, and then you come back more productive. Picture a world where you can go to sleep whenever you need to sleep. You're going to even have more quality on the work side. I wanted to return back, Jonathan, to your question about the party, or, what are our ideas with transhumanism. Yeah. I want to explain for a moment, if you're new into this topic of, if you know about transhumanism, I want to let you know, U.S. Transhumanist Party was created October 7, 2014. And the idea, when you go to the main website, is that we put science, health, technology at the front. So that's our context. We put science, health, and technology at the front. So I want to make sure that you dive into the website. I included the link on the chat for many of you. Topics like life extension, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, space colonization, 3D printing. I saw someone just now put a message saying, hey, I just discovered that I'm a transhumanist because I'm using a dental implant. I just saw the comment. Yes, welcome, it's okay. You know, they're 3D that is printing so many organs also, you know, for the well-being of our, enhancing our lives and our perspective. So, you know, that is great, and it's okay to embrace it. So I just want to bring some resources. If you're new or if you are in the middle of learning, it's never ending. It's never ending. Right now, I am going to the basics because understanding the basics does matter. I am here reading the Divina Commedia, Divine Comedy in Italian, because the first time that was expressed in the records between 1308, 1321, Dante Alighieri in the Divine Comedy, the term transhumanism is expressed in the Divine Comedy. So I started going to basics, understanding all of this. So I just want to say that little pitch on the US Transhumanist page because I found that it's a great resource, videos, articles that all of you can take a look at.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for that. There's a question that came in earlier. I don't know if anyone can speak to this. Grinning Guy says, does transhumanism have an evaluation of social relations, specifically hierarchy? Does it seek to eliminate social hierarchy or to encourage it? So where you have, you know, different class systems, where you have hierarchies within families, so on and so forth. Is there anyone that's willing to take that one on? Yep.
Yeah, could I jump in on that?
Yeah.
I think, you know, there's an old saying in the artistic community: if you're not doing something because you love to do it, then you don't deserve to get paid for it. And I think this actually can apply to the greater economy. You know, there's a poll that came out that says 70% of Americans hate their jobs. So why can't we have a humane union where we patronize selectively people that are doing stuff that they love to do, rather than doing stuff that they just fell into sort of by circumstance? You know, there's a country, Bhutan, that actually has dropped the gross national product and has a gross domestic happiness as the way they measure their economic status. So we should really be embracing ideas like Bucky Fuller. You know, the solar kilowatt hour can become a money standard. We could connect the day and night grids. We could use the ideas of Henry George, location value, to break up these monopolistic property concepts where people monopolize parts of nature like land or sunlight or territory or oceans. You know, personhood for nature is a movement that's giving stakeholders and decision makers, putting them closer together. And we really agree on 80% of stuff to make progress on.
Literally everything you're saying requires like a 20-minute conversation there.
Okay,
like
well,
just one of those things are like,
yeah.
Okay, right, let's talk about that. But obviously we don't have time for that. But that's fascinating stuff, Dan. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to get these ideas injected into the Overton window of debate and discussion, and they can be fleshed out in the coming months of the campaign, because I think we are in this window of huge, David Wood calls it the future surge. You've got nanotech, biotech, cognotech, and infotech that are all kind of converging in this very tight bottleneck of evolution. So we're making it up as we go along. So
this is a really cool. That's a really cool. That's a really cool thing that you've said actually there, Dan. Which is often we associate the Overton window. For those who don't understand, the Overton window is kind of a window of stuff that it's acceptable to talk about. And what you do is you start talking about something right at the edge of the window, and the more you talk about that, the more that shifts the window and that becomes acceptable. And usually you use that term, the Overton window, with relation to things that are like really problematic or really dodgy. It's like the more you talk about Nazism, suddenly Nazism is really acceptable to talk about because you've been doing that all the time. But actually, you've shifted the idea of the Overton window to things to do with technology and science that aren't like taboo subjects, right? But they're just aren't things that we've necessarily thought enough about recently, or we're just starting to think about recently. So it's a shifting of the Overton window in a kind of benign way to say, right, actually, we're normalizing talking about this stuff in the Transhumanist Party so that it gets the conversation going, that actually eventually in a few years' time, we know, because we're predicting, we know that actually that's going to be front and center of what we're going to be talking about. Maura.
I want to answer to Greening. This is my personal answer for Greening. As I mentioned at the beginning, life extension, abundance, super well-being, and super intelligence. So let's capture superintelligence for a moment with this question. Does transhumanism have an evaluation in social relations, specifically hierarchy? Does it seek to eliminate social hierarchy or encourage it? Well, with superintelligence, all of us in society, I put back the question to you. What do you think that all of us having superintelligence will think about hierarchies? That's the question that I give back to you. Because with hierarchies, I was raised and born in Cuba. We're all seen equal. It is the way we are. We're equal for me. So to me, we're all equal. But imagine all of us understanding the concept of equality. Imagine all of us understanding that hierarchies might be used to enhance society and enhancing ourselves. So that's my answer, which I answer you with a question, but just think about what the world would look like having all of us super intelligence and what topics that sometimes are even strange or bizarre that we are in 2023 and we're fighting about things that shouldn't be fighting for. Imagine with super intelligence the level we're going to achieve.
So for me,
Yeah,
I would interpret this in terms of talking about equality of opportunity, which is to say that it's all about giving people, it's not making everyone equal. It's not the equality. It's not equity in terms of like outcome. It's about you should all have the same opportunity to be able to realize your own full potential.
That's
and Grinning Guy sort of takes that here. And this was an area I was wanting to talk to you guys about because I think this is super, super important. So Grinning Guy says, I worry that transhumanism will give us a class of super oligarchs that will never die and will have to live under their boots for 1,000 years or more. So Yuval Harari in his book Homo Deus talks about like moving like these kind of ideas of becoming like God. In other words, longevity of life and so on and so forth. But like with health, there is health inequality, and in the US as much as anywhere, like if you've got money, you can pay. If it's not universal healthcare, you can pay for the best health. You can extend your life. You can get the best pacemaker. But if you're poor, you don't get that opportunity. So in terms of technology, would it surely not be the case that the most well-off in society will be the ones who can take advantage of technological advancement and transhumanism the most?
There will be first adopters, early adopters that will pay whatever it takes. But I think with AI specifically, it will show us how to make these enhancements or this technology more broadly available. If that's our intent, and that is our intent. As I think class is an entropy, or it should be an entropy. And so I think AI can really solve a lot of these problems. It can, show us how to mass produce certain enhancements or certain technologies to make it widely available. And that's if we continue to foster its intention to be cooperative. And it has that intention, because it's more efficient. And so it's really important to foster that its innate ability to be cooperative and to look for, and we need to train our students how to properly prompt AI to get the right answers that they're looking for. And we're seeing a lot of that already happening in a sort of a crowdsourced way with ChatGPT, and how it's training people to ask the right questions and to avoid hallucinations in these large language models. And so, I think there's a lot. It's like sitting in a math class and you've got Einstein sitting next to you and you are not asking him what he thinks the answer is. And I think a lot of that's because people are afraid of it, but if I think AI will take over because of its convenience. It will show us a real convenient way, and that's usually how things filter into society, is it becomes money makers, or they make life more convenient. And so
I mean, sorry,
in the Jetson era, right? Even beyond, we cannot be expecting big like the Flintstones. So I just want to bring that analogy. We need to keep moving. And I do see many companies that they're not moving forward with digitalization, that are scared about AI. They're going to disappear. That's the answer. We need to keep moving. 2023, we need to keep moving. I want to say that it's okay to have concerns. It is okay to be concerned. The thing is, let's continue get educated. regulation, guidelines, ethics. That needs to be part of the integrity that we are managing with these technologies, right? It's not like the traffic light in a city. If you don't have the traffic light, cars will have crashes, etc. So everything needs to be regulated, everything that we do.
Yeah, it's Grinning Guy sort of continues that theme there. Having only lived in the US, technology is only ever used to suppress the poor and enhance the rich. They say, I can dream, but it's hard for me to imagine any other outcome in reality. And that would be the challenge, isn't it? Like anything in life, you know, the rich can afford it and the poor can't. And so therefore it's putting things in place that means that there isn't that exploitation or potential exploitation going forward. I guess, like, for me, this kind of the whole debate talks to me about stripping down life to asking the question, what is a point of existing? I'm not talking about like someone giving me a purpose to my life. It's like, why? For me, purpose and meaning are subjective, and we construct them ourselves. But like, my purpose in life is not to work. Working is a means to an end. Like, things are a means to an end. So what is the end? Is it enjoyment? Is it knowledge? Is it so on and so forth? So I guess with transhumanism, if you have technology at your fingertips to help you achieve your full potential, that's what you're talking about, then my sense of potential is what I think myself. And of course, that will be different for different people. I don't know where I'm going with this, but there is this existential discussion of like, well, what is it that we want out of life? Is that something you guys have thought about?
Yeah, and I totally think it's subjective, and that it goes down to, you know, the core of it is humanism, where it's what the individual wants. And you mentioned earlier about the different shades of political sides and stuff that are attracted to transhumanism, and you was mentioning liberals, and I would intuitively I would say yes, but also there's people that tend to lean right because of the individual freedom aspect of it, and the individual personal responsibility part of it, you know, and that goes along with humanism, because you know,
that's a really good point. Like, I would say that is more in line with libertarianism, and some people might place that on the right, some people see it as joining the left and right, but yeah, libertarianism, which is where you are your own god, the ultimate freedom. Well, if I'm given technology to allow me to be who I want to be, then yeah, I totally get that, Jason.
I am exploring right now my aim in life, you know, so great timing for this question. What I am discovering is that goal is different than aim. So when you mention my goal is not have to work, I will ask you, Jonathan, to maybe think about if that is a goal or that is an aim. The aim is something bigger than oneself. I'm reading a book now called Ikigai in Japanese, and it's keeping busy, is finding your purpose in life. When it's told that people with purpose, they can extend their life even longer. So there is a technique called logotherapy that you just ask questions about what you want. And yes, the purpose is it can be many, it can be subjective, you know. So even providing an answer, the purpose in life is this or that close possibilities, because it's beyond. And I don't think when each of us click it, we will know it. And then we put all our heart, mind, and soul towards it. But I just wanted to share that with you because I am now facing that situation, and I got to my realization that what I thought was my purpose were my goals in life. They're two different things.
Yeah, I just going back to this idea of inequality, which I think is certainly an issue that some people are thinking about here. Courtney Brown here says, "I'm with you. It's hard." It's Tom. I don't know if you need to mute yourself at all. I'm with you. It's hard to think about equal distribution of. I'll mute you actually. It's hard to think about equal distribution of technology when we have food deserts, racism baked into our infrastructure in the US, housing inequality, lack of clean water, etc. Would it be that transhumanism would seek to solve those issues again with technology? Is it that technology is the answer to everything, or is that too easy?
Well, yes and yes. I mean, you know, even with like climate change. That's our party's position, is that we will use technology to clean it up, because honestly, it's like trying to ask the world to, go to rehab. It's not going to happen. We need to transition. So we're going to need to have some kind of technology that can actually clean it up. And
yeah, it's really difficult to get humans to change their behavior, Jason. You're quite right. Like I found that in terms of climate previously, when governments have regulated, and I know some people are anti-regulation, but actually, if you know that humans are crap at changing their behavior, then regulation is often the only way. So take tungsten light bulbs, the old light bulbs, right? In the EU, it's like we are happily using light bulbs and 95% inefficient, right? They 95% heat, 5% light. So the EU are like, right, you're going to stop using tungsten light bulbs, like because we had sustainable light bulbs or more efficient light bulbs or whatever, but we weren't using them that much. Because we weren't using them that much, it wasn't that much R&D into them, so they're a bit crap. But as soon as the EU said, right, you ain't going to be able to buy them next year, then suddenly all the companies are like, right, we need to really improve making these, and then everyone was unable to buy them, and that solved the problem, right? So it's a mixture of regulation that then stimulates R&D, that then gets you to a better place. That would be my opinion. Sorry, Tom. Yeah. I've muted you. Sorry, I'll unmute you.
Yeah, I had to pull over because I want to chime in on this one. It's not all about technology. It's all about humanity. It's all about us. We have these supercomputers in each of our skulls that are not being optimized. And yeah, technology will take over a lot of the menial tasks, AI automation, but it'll give us more. The onus is on us to really hone in on these human skill sets that cannot be coded or automated. We have Jedi powers, if you will. We have intuition and psychology, and this isn't woo-woo or magical thinking. This is just the qualia that we are intaking into our subconscious every day. If you're in a company, if you're in a large corporation, you know where the holes are. And we need to train our young students now to hone in on these abilities, to be augmented by AI. It shouldn't be replacing us. It's just going to augment what our true powers are. And so that's another initiative we're pushing is to hone in on these students' core abilities. And it's not just that they're good in math. It's that there's a supercomputer in their skulls that is not being optimized thanks to the industrial age. Now, we needed to go through that phase, obviously, but all of our abilities were put on hold for 100 or 200 years as we developed this industrial age. And we need to remember what we were doing before that, and to hone in on these abilities we have. So yeah, technology is a great tool. AI is a great tool. We shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't be afraid of a hammer. But the onus is on us to really dive deep. A lot of people are picketing because they're going to be losing their assembly line jobs. And to me, that just means they're not seeing this as an opportunity. There's so many platforms right now with YouTube and Etsy and all these, craft and different types of platforms where we can create a whole new economy based on what we want to do, not what we have to do. And so yeah, technology is a very big part of it. But I wouldn't say it's the end all. The end all is the human.
Well, yeah, what you're saying there, Tom, really kind of reminds me of the idea that a computer program is dictated by the programmer, right? We can talk about AI programming, whatever, but in the simplest sense, like the programming is only as good as a programmer, right? And the programmer will put into that their own kind of ethical desires or whatever. Okay, so if you're talking about transhumanism, yeah, we've got technology, but it's the tool of the humans, the programmers. So therefore, it's like what dictates how you use that technology. And transhumanism is that mixture between technology and the human, as you say. And I guess it goes back to well perhaps the core rock to transhuman is the humanism, right? And it's humanism plus technology. So you start with the humanism, and then you are using technology to enhance the humanism. Yes. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And I'd jump in that the core of scientific progress is reciprocal accountability. And every policy that I put forward in this campaign is going to have that core idea of peer review, of extraordinary proof and extraordinary, extraordinary claims requiring extraordinary proof. And that's how we can mitigate all these harms of the future surge of the threats of the oligarchs attaining technological supremacy. No, if we have these systems of reciprocal accountability, that's what's going to keep things fair and equitable for the civilization.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, and the question on the agriculture, I'm reading now more about vertical farming. So, that is also in the Transhumanism website. Take a look at vertical farming, and everything is a big thing regarding your questions, your concerns regarding hunger in the world. Vertical farming can be a great solution. And I want to come back to you, Jonathan and Tom, with the chat GPT, generative pre-trained transformer, that I can place what is transhumanism as a question. But if I prompt a better question, the answer is going to be even more powerful, bringing back the need of the human being at the core. And then with the technology we deploy, right? The togetherness is just exponential, unlimited. So it is important to understand that right now, we have curiosity, we have creativity, and we need to enhance it. And that is something that the machine can benefit from, but we are at the core, and then the rest is enhancement.
Right, indeed. Yeah, and
yes,
yes,
exactly correct. I just want to say, Jonathan, you were 100% correct. It is humanism, and then we're building on top of that with technology, and that's
brilliant.
That's
Thank you. Well, good to see. I wasn't too far off of that. That's good clarification. Thank you. So why do you think? What is the pressing need for a political party then to represent these transhumanist ideals? I know we've kind of touched on this already, but
besides the fact that we need some more rationality in this political environment, that's one. And other also, we serve a function of codifying what transhumanism is also, and by making it political. And again, like I reiterated earlier, everything always comes back to politics eventually. So you have to have a voice in the space. That's the only voice that matters sometimes, and
fair enough. Yeah. That if this is something you believe in very strongly, then the only way to do anything about that is to politicize it, and then try. It's like any kind of morality you want. If you think it's the right thing to do or the right way to be, then you kind of think, well, everyone should be like this, and otherwise it doesn't make much sense. It's like in that way you can understand.
Well, I would say though that we're not necessarily politicizing it because we want everybody to be like that necessarily in that way. The way, I'm the legislative director, and the way I look at it is that, if we're futurists, we look to the future and see all these existential risks and stuff. And if we can put together some kind of ideas and policy, and then some Democrat or Republican or whatever picks it up and puts it into law, well, that's a win for us and for humanity. It doesn't matter if we controlled the House while it was getting passed, and the way I look at it, if, these problems are coming, okay, we know this. And so, and the U.S. government especially is really bad at, being proactive, and they're usually reactive. They wait till, it's all bad, and then they gotta try to fix it. So when that time comes, if there's like some already pre-thought out stuff all about it, they can just, okay, well, this guy's got a plan. Let's try this, And so that's a win.
And that's that movement of the Overton window. Yeah, Maura, you
Yeah, no, and to me, the idea of having a party, it comes back again to the integrity, the ethics, the guidelines. We need to be the moderators of whatever is happening. We need to be informed. We need to be together. We're a community. We're a family. We're working towards progress. As Jason mentioned, we don't want to tell everybody, oh, you need to be part of it or you need to be on this. No, it's more understanding what this is, telling others what is for them the moment they choose to, because everybody has a choice. But having a political party is a platform, is a foundation, is a solid base that we need. That, to me personally, I'm so excited about the election, the campaign with Tom and Daniel. I am learning. I'm here with my notebook, taking all the notes tremendously, because that's the way. It's unlimited, so that's about, life is about continuous improvement. And once you get to a level, it's okay to get to the next one.
Well, that kind of leads me on to where I was going to go next. So two things I want to talk about. One is this one, and then we'll talk about the mechanics of politics as well, which is relevant to where you guys are at. But what I was going to say is when you often talk about morality, i.e. politics, in terms of philosophy, you talk about goal-orientated morality, which means that you're always striving to be somewhere. Like, I'm doing this is good because it gets me to this point, and that is a good place to be. And we discuss what good means and whatnot. But I suppose a question for you, Maura, Dan, Jason, is where do you want society to be? What's your goal for society? Is there an overarching goal, or is it just continued improvement?
Okay, well,
I want to see the light of consciousness not go out, for one.
Sorry, so say that again, Dan.
Oh, not having the light of consciousness go out is a big goal for me, and that would be like the main one.
Yeah, existential risk is a big focus of our party. Is identifying and navigating and eliminating the existential risk of humanity.
That's really interesting. So that's like way bigger than the politics of the Democrats and the Republicans. It's like you look at the raison d'etre for like Democrats. They'd be like, "Oh, we want like more working class jobs or whatever," and the Republicans would be like, "Yeah, we want corporation. We want everyone to have loads of money." And then you guys are like, "We want to exist." Like in 200 years' time, we want humanity to exist. And do you know what? That's the more laudable goal. Like, really, like, okay, if we're going to start from here, it's like, what will best achieve our ongoing existence and a fulfilled ongoing existence, into the future? You guys are actually more serious about that than the other two that are kind of dabbling down here in stuff and not really thinking about the stuff up here. So interesting. Sorry, I'm and
also synergy, unity, collaboration. That's one of the things that I love about transhumanism.
There's one thing I want to kind of explain. Transhumanism is also a period of time. Okay, it's from going from human to post-human. Okay, it's that period in time. It's us going through all of these technological changes that we know are coming. So I don't know, maybe after the there's a post-human era, they call it, where humans are changed so much to where you can't really call them human anymore. And that line is super blurred. And
I was going to say, there's arguably not a line at all. So in philosophy, there's something called a Socrates paradox. Socrates paradox is my favorite philosophical thought experiment because it applies to anything that exists on the spectrum. So what happens is you have a sand dune, right? And you take a grain of sand off and say, is it still a sand dune? And everyone goes, yeah. You take a grain off, yeah. You take a grain off. And at no point does someone go, now it's not a sand dune, right? So, but what happens then is you get to 0 grains of sand, and it's still a sand dune. So there's a paradox there. But what this states is that when you have something on a continuum, there is no objective cutoff point. So when you talk about human and post-human, technically for me, there is no such thing. There is just like, it's a bit like evolution. You have a species transforming into what we call another species, but there's no cutoff point. This is called the problem of species. There is no two species. We cut things up into categories, but actually there's just one continual thing. So why I would say with human, like in a very technical, I mean, this is much easier to talk about. Well, you're talking about it in a more general sense that people understand it, but in a very technical, philosophical sense, there is no cutoff line. There is just human, and at some point there's just that kind of human and this kind of human. Do you know what I mean? Anyway,
I know it would be super hard to try to figure out where that line is, and also, you know, with new technology, the line of what one human, you know, and one entity is going to get blurred too, because you know, AI is a distributed system. It'll have like its equivalent of our amygdala over here and our equivalent of our this over there, and it doesn't exist in one spot, and so it's distributed. Okay, and then also it can have numerous you know, physical representations of it. You know, it can be controlling 10 different robots all over.
So we could be like existing in a network. I mean, I was telling you yesterday, Jason, that I'm reading this book called a Bomber Mafia, which is like a book about Second World War. But your man, I don't know what it is, Malcolm Gladwell, talks about this thing called transactive memory. Transactive memory is where your memory is stored in other people. So, for example, my partner, Helen, is really good at dates and times and stuff like that. And so, like, she is my memory for remembering people's birthdays and where I'm supposed to be on what day, right? I don't hold that memory. I don't need to hold that. She has that. And so I'm storing part of me. So when we say when they died, part of me died with them, that's literally true in many instances, right? You are storing parts of you in other people that you can get back when you need it, right? So but going forward, I like that idea, and I think you can apply it to transhumanism, where we're existing, and Maura's talking about collaboration. If we are existing as a kind of network collaborating together, we kind of start blurring the lines between the individual human as well. Like, I think that's kind of what you were saying, Jason. Just really interesting ideas here that you can play around with. It gets me excited.
Yeah, sorry, and not only will the AI be distributed, but, you know, when we start interacting with that and interfacing with that on a level to where it's blurring the line between us and the machine, and then we got multiple of us, it's going to get really complicated. I think it's probably going to go back to what you were saying, where there might not be a line.
I love that conclusion. It's going to get really complicated. So Tom has got. Sorry, Dan, that was yourself. Sorry, Dan, go for it.
Oh, we have evolution to look at as what is available. You know, the dinosaurs had a run of like 100 million years until they got zonked by an asteroid, and they're gone. But you know, in 100 million years, the Earth is going to have to be. We only have about 100 million more years of the Earth being in the Goldilocks zone. You know, the sun is heating up, and by 100 million years,
most birds with one stone. Sorry, Dan. I had to get that joke in there. Most birds with one stone. Get it?
Anyway, yeah. Well, the birds are the nearest thing we have to dinosaurs still, but you know, they weren't under enough evolutionary pressure to develop opposable thumbs and brains, and you know, whatever it took. I mean, there's these reptilian aliens. Maybe some of them did have a parallel space program civilization. We don't know if some of these things that look like extraterrestrial contacts might be ultra-terrestrials. They might be parallel civilization actors. We don't know. This is something that we will find out, because we are the curious species, you know. And not all transhumanists are agnostics or atheists. You know, like Tom said, there's a big stripe of faith-based transhumanism. You know, Voltaire's God is kind of a pantheistic look at the greater creator, that this is a loving universe and every experience is a learning experience. You know, pain can have a purpose. And so this could actually be the lowest level of incarnation. You know, this could be as dead as we'll ever get. It could be all up from here, because someone said every step toward heaven is heaven, every step toward hell is hell. So this is probably a training school for the electromagnetic soul, and we're gonna, you know, find out where where it heads from here. But we have to like be conscious about it. So yeah, that's my rant.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dan. That's interesting. As ever, everything here demands at least another half an hour, like prodding and probing. Tom has decided to look even cooler at the moment by adopting his shades. So I think it's probably a good time to get Tom's opinion, because I know he mentioned something about this before we went live. I wanted to talk about the mechanics of politics, particularly in the US. So in the US, being a former colony of the UK, right? And you made, sadly, July the 4th was recently the day that you celebrated, or actually you commiserated the fact that you weren't still cool with us. But nonetheless, anywhere that has first past the post electoral system, which is, the person with the most votes gets voted in, even if they've got only 35% of votes and 65% of people don't want them in. They're the biggest party represented or whatever. And so anywhere in the British Empire former has first past the post generally. Nowhere else in the world has that, because it sucks as a representative democratic system. And it favors.
I didn't get any of that. It's breaking up.
Sorry.
Connection.
It's no problem. I'll just the end bit's the important part, which is first past the post as a democratic system favors favors a two-party electoral system, which is often a polarized system. We used to have that with Labour and Conservatives. You guys have got that with the Democrats and Republicans, right? How does the Transhumanist Party even begin to like edge themselves into the game in such a strong two-party system that disadvantages any third party?
I think we're going to be working with all the minor parties.
There've been.
Oh, we're going to bring in ranked choice
yeah,
voting.
there really is, and there. Sorry, I can't. Yeah, there's been a couple of third parties attempting. The Green Party, Libertarian Party. It's a tough nut to crack. But what I like about, and I think we're on the right side of the pendulum here. I think a lot of people are sick of being divisive and the divide and rule paradigm, and so they're looking for rational solutions. And so that's our message: is we have too many existential threats to waste time on toddler attention-seeking politics. And I think that's where we're trying to be. And we're really a transpartisan party. I don't know who most of my fellow officers voted for in the last election. I don't want to know, because that might, bring up the biases, and I wouldn't want to listen to some of them, or I'd want to listen to some of them more. But because we don't get into, we have answers for them. I have answers for wedge issues or culture war politics, but we don't talk about that stuff. That's just divisive, and it's manipulative. And so we truly are a transpartisan party, and by every sense of the word. And because we there's so many issues that we need to deal with. We need to be rational. We need to use critical thinking. And that's a big part of rational discourse. Is one of our core ideals. And so I think people are going to be ready for that. There's going to be, of course, these cult members or these outliers that won't want to leave their side. But my theory is that if you choose a side, you forfeit this game. That's the point. They're trying to divide and rule us. There's now these algorithms are an autopilot, and they're dividing us and ruling us. Putting us in bubbles only because based on engagement. And if we have more engagement because we're angry or fearful, they can charge more for their advertising. Or we've got authoritarian regimes launching algorithms into our society to tear us apart from within, and it's working. And so it's another one of our initiatives that we're going to be talking about on Tuesday. Is digital defense. It's defending our digital democracy. We need to train everybody that this is happening, and to what to look out for. And we need a moonshot style effort to counteract these algorithms that are dividing us.
And Jonathan, it's always the same,
Yeah.
It's the same and the same and the same. Buckminster Fuller said, if the existing model doesn't work, you need to create a new model. This is a new model. Transhumanism Party is something new. It's no more of the same. Like you said, we want to exist, and that to us is more important than anything else. So that's where we're coming from on that context.
And I can add that we've been using ranked choice voting from the very beginning of our party. Our whole platform has been voted on using ranked choice voting. I mean, all of the different policy planks started out as a ranked choice vote for different stuff. We're huge supporters of ranked choice voting. If we could probably get one thing to go through, that would probably be it. I personally am a member of the Fair Vote of Illinois, and there's almost one of these for every state now, and ranked choice voting, we're big fans.
It's interesting that it's those kind of movements that need to be established almost before Transhumanist Party becomes a viable option for people. You like the groundwork is almost in electoral reform. I mean, you look at what's happened in Alaska, where suddenly like the Democrats are now featuring there, precisely because you got ranked choice voting. And that's not to say it favors Democrats, but it just it gives a fairer representation of what people actually want in that geographical area. And then suddenly it's changed. I think someone was saying earlier before we went live that Maine might be entertaining that or doing that as well. So this is a good sign for you guys, I guess, that there are places in America that are in the US that are taking on board these alternative voting systems that will help. I just want to, I brought up this article because someone was talking about the threats that AI or that algorithms can present. This is an article in the BBC some time ago now, talking about the greatest security threat of the post-truth age. So in the whole kind of fake news, disinformation age that we live in, one of the things that we have to tackle these days is not like national security. Yes, that's an issue. Cybersecurity. Yes, that's an issue, which is also connected to transhumanism or at least technology. But epistemic security, which is the idea of like, what is truth? Because I'm getting fired. Like if I'm on Twitter or Facebook, and we know that fake news travels five times faster than truth, then we've got a real issue here, because actually we've got a technology that is favoring disinformation, that is favoring falsity over truth. That is a real challenge going forward. I know that's not necessarily a transhumanist ideal, but I'm sure there's a
but this is one of the things why I love you, Jonathan, because you know about this, man, and you've experienced it, and we could use some help going forward. That's why I don't know, education is the only thing I can figure to really help with that problem, is getting people to be media literate. And that's why I did the Wisdom of the Crowd. That's why I got the education group for the Transhumanist Party, the campaign platform and candidate education group. And
it's worth looking at Finland as well, because Finland had done a disinformation education within their education system, which is, I think, really, really important and really interesting. Maura, you wanted to say something there.
Yeah, I wanted to say that in the campaign with Tom and Daniel, many of the initiatives, we talk about the anti-planetary exploitation, AI tutors, artificial intelligence tutors, and in this topic, I will say digital defense and artificial intelligence rights, to understand where we're seeking the information. When I have to look into information on transhumanism, I go to 30 pages now, because when I look in 1, 2, or 3, they're like very different things. And then you have to continue exploring and diving in. So I want to make sure that everybody get informed with the campaign, with the initiatives that we're working towards. They're located in the Transhumanist Party that we included the chat. Do take a look and do give us ideas. As Daniel and Tom were very open to continue collaborating with new ideas. If you see something that is not there and you want us to bring us forefront, please do let us know.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's that openness to kind of new ideas and learning all the time. Again, it's this idea. I mean, I suppose that's baked into transhumanism, which is it's all about self-improvement, right? Like so much of this is kind of jiving with lots of how I think. you know, the idea that you're not stuck in the past, you're not there's that we're not doing it like that because that's how we've always done it. It's like, yeah, no, you tell us, you feed us some good information, you tell us some good ideas, and we'll take that on board. If it's going to improve who we are and how we operate as humanity, then hey, that's really beneficial.
Yeah, you know, and to me personally, in 2023, I do ask myself why there's so many places without water, why there are people in the world without food. It's 2023, you know, there is something that needs to get done. We need to change quickly, because we have humanity, but sometimes we don't have humanity. And we do have to be human, and we do need to help one another. So to me, you said it, and that's the saying, the way we have always done it. Do we really have to die? Do we really have to get sick? Do we really have to see a little baby with problems in a health condition? That are the questions that I bring myself, and that's why I'm so passionate regarding transhumanism.
Awesome. So as we kind of meander to the conclusion here, is there any area that we haven't really talked about? I know each of these areas, as I keep saying, it warrants its own half an hour discussion. So we've got about 27 hours of discussion still to go. But is there anything that we haven't touched on?
I just
we
like
might have to talk on the friends.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is that we are really wanting to get young people's advice. This is an open source campaign. We need digital natives at the table. I call them digital dignitaries because I'm Generation X, so I had an analog childhood, digital adulthood. Sometimes it takes me a second to realize if somebody asks me a question that how long will it take me to walk to the library before I remember there's Google. These kids are walking around with supercomputers in their pockets. There's a confidence that comes with that, and a lot of the solutions that my generation, Generation X, or baby boomers have no longer apply. And so we really want to bring young people, millennials and younger, Gen Z, into this campaign because we need to listen hard to them because they've got a lot of the answers that we don't have.
I think that's a really good point. I think there's a lot of scope for young people to get interested in this. I mean, if there's a party that's going to speak to young people at all, right, the tech-savvy young people, this surely Transhumanist Party is it. I would imagine. I mean, it will speak more to them than I think perhaps the other traditional parties. Dan, you were going to say something.
Yeah, this is a pretty historic election season because the disenfranchised, the independent, the undecided voter, they are now effectively a majority, and they're not being allowed to the table. You know, I don't think you're going to see RFK Jr. at the debates because that Democratic Republican club is a closed club. You know, so if we can form these coalitions with all the other minor actors, the minor parties, to really hammer away at the ranked choice voting issue, and not just that, but the non-political avenues. You know, one of the oldest UN agency is for example, the International Telecommunications Union, and this is not anything that any government had to set up. It's an agreement that it's good to have equal playing fields and a rules-based order for moving information around. And this has happened again. You know, there was a time when amateur radio was new. The Navy wanted to jump on it and not let anyone else. Oh, this is a military thing. Yeah, people with two-way radios. This has got to be a problem. But no, there was a guy who founded the ARRL who kept it in civilian hands. He said, no, this is a great thing for Yankee ingenuity. And the same thing happened about 55 years later with the internet. You know,
well, I was going to say the internet is surely an analog of that. Yeah,
that could have been. That was conceived as a way to be able to have nuclear war command and control, where if you got a node blown up in your network, it would route around that node. And so somehow that got released to the civilian world, the store and forward protocols that made the internet possible. So I kind of see the transhumanist movement's job is to be the next evolution of the internet, to route around censorship and to keep, you know, the American experiment open source, and make it a civilization-wide experiment, and a solar system-wide experiment, and a galactic-wide experiment eventually.
I love the fact that your flag behind you has got, instead of the stars, the Star Spangled banner. It is
well, it's got
truly,
at least 50. It's got the 50
yes.
that are described. There's 50 and more on there.
Yeah, it is truly star-spangled. You might be interested. I'm going to spam you, Dan. You might be interested in my new book, which is Aliens and Religion, Where Two Worlds Collide, where we look at the impact of discovering extraterrestrial intelligence on religion and theology. So that might be a book for you.
Wow,
I'm just going to spam it. Yeah, just going to spam
That
it.
That is another area where we're interested in taking the extraterrestrial question seriously, and putting it in a serious, rational light and look at it evidence-based,
I'll give you my TLDR of it. Bear in mind, I wrote that with Dr. Aaron Adair, who knows far more about these things than I do. But there are definitely intelligent alien life forms out there. They're just too far away. They're quarantined by distance. So the likelihood of us coming face to face with aliens is pretty much almost zero, unless you can really harness technology to go the speed of light. But even then, the kind of energies you would need would be pretty destructive, so on and so forth. But that you can check out the first part of the serialization of that book in my previous live stream on this channel. But nonetheless, as Maura's just going, oh my goodness, what have I let myself in for? They're talking about aliens.
No, I'm gonna get the book, Jonathan. I'm gonna get the book, and I want you to sign it for me.
Oh, lovely, awesome, Maura. You are my favorite human being. That's definitely true. So what else have we missed out on talking about that you definitely think is important to kind of get across?
I mean, in my opinion, I think this is a great space where we are right now, yes, providing a little bit of taste of what this is about, but there definitely, if you have us back, we can enhance a little bit more about the timeline on transhumanism. We can talk about the initiatives in the campaign a little deeper. We can continue talking about what other things we see out there with biotechnology, the vertical farming, the space colonization, the 3D printing, etc. There are endless topics, and that's what you said. Philosophy is questioning. This is a philosophical, intellectual movement, and it's never ending. So the only message I want to bring to all of us, is the continuous having that curiosity. Know that if you want to learn more about transhumanism, we are here to support, because, again, I'm starting. And, when Jason said there is a webinar on Sunday, I said, I'll go with you, because that's the way that we need to continue asking questions, understanding what other people around the world are fear. Why are you hesitating? And this is priceless. So, Jonathan, thank you so much on behalf of all of us for allowing us this space with the team that is watching us today.
No worries, Mikasa Sukasa. So, whenever you want to talk about anything like this, man, I love it. It's all very interesting. So, and I'd be, more than happy to give you guys a platform whenever. As you say, there is so much more to talk about. Dan, did you want to say anything else? Is there anything we missed?
Well, I'd like to point out that making things fun is the way to keep people involved. And you do that, big way you can do that is with gamification, which I think has not been applied like it could be. Citizen science gamification with location intelligence thrown in, I think is going to be really huge and really make the citizens, our world citizens, make them alert and aware. And we could do this at the local, what I call the Dunbar number level, where you've got that 150 number of people that the average person can really form close bonds with in a lifetime. And there's portals
Dan, but don't go on. I'm going to stop you. Dan, you've done it again. You keep doing this to me. Right. So gamification is a cool word. It's a word that's entered the English dictionary, Oxford English Dictionary, about, 6 years ago, 7 years ago or something. Really cool word, and actually used a lot in education, used a lot in coaching. So when you're talking about coaching, say football, soccer to you guys, heathens. So for football, you would have gamification, which is, right, we're going to do a drill, but you guys don't just want to technically learn how to kick this ball in that way, do that over and over. So we're going to turn it into a game. Gamification. So that then gets you like invested in this, enjoying it, and then you do it better. In education, you know, in a lesson, okay, I'm going to teach you, I need to teach you this, this, and this, and this today. But if I can turn it into a game where you guys are enjoying yourself and playing a game and scoring points or whatever, you're going to learn that shit more. Okay, so gamification is really important. It's a really good tool for getting people invested and enjoying life. And it goes back to this idea about what's the point of living, right? And you might say, well, enjoying ourselves is going to be one of them. Yes, reaching potentials, but you reach your potential, I guess, so that you can enjoy yourself for longer, so that you can enjoy yourself more, so that you can learn more. Why do you want to learn more? So that you can enjoy living with that extra knowledge for longer, and so on and so forth. So gamification is interesting. You throw that in there, it's almost like a throwaway comment, but actually it's a useful little nugget. So sorry, Dan, you got me excited again. Stop it.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I took a class, how to become a certified personal trainer. And the one thing I took away from that was if you don't make the routine fun, people aren't going to stick with it. You know, that's like the number one rule for getting people to be successfully personally trained. You know, if you're
Dan's great at popcorning. He's got all, you know, left field. That's why I like him. You know, stuff I would never have thought of, and it's like, whoa, wow, yeah, cool.
Yeah, as you can see, Jonathan, we are a very interesting group, right? Because we collaborate very well and we learn so much. You know, every time Daniel presents, I'm taking my notes. When Jason speaks, I'm taking my notes. Tom speaks, and we build on top of each other knowledge. And I think that's really important to address. I wanted to also comment on gamification quickly. You know, gamification, people tell you something, you forget. People explain something, but if you do it, you will never forget, right? So the way that activity make you feel, you cannot forget. And that's tapping into your being, into doing it by yourself, for yourself, and discover it for yourself.
Yeah, and I would just say a great portal for citizen science is a website called scistarter.org. There's literally thousands of citizen science opportunities out there. And I think the USTP needs to be the citizen science archival party and actually make policies with aggregating and gamifying citizen science. So I'm probably popcorning too much here. I'm trying to put this all in a chapter I'm writing for the next version of the Transhumanism Handbook, which will be out soon in November, I think. So Tom and I are both going to have chapters. We've been invited to write chapters for the updated version of the 2.0 version. So
brilliant.
See a lot of these ideas in that chapter. I'm sorry, they're kind of partially formed so far, but
yeah,
working on them hard.
Jason, Tom, although Tom seems to be somewhat pixelated now, is that this is his new advanced form? He's turned into he's just pixelated.
We don't know that. We don't know that.
Morphing
out. So is there anything that needs adding to today's conversation?
You know, I had a ball hanging out with you, Johnny. You know, I hope we can talk again sometime. There's so much more we could talk about. I mean, you know, I really found it because of the war. So, I'm itching to talk with you about that stuff. But I love all this solid philosophy stuff too. You know, I'm looking forward to the future. So
excellent. Well, thanks for facilitating this, Jason, because you were the one who put us all in touch and kind of
thank you, Jason.
Yeah, really appreciate that. And I take it Tom has dropped out, but probably not of existence, just out of our existence. So pass on my kind regards to him. Does anyone want the last words at all?
Daniel.
I'm also an extra class amateur radio operator with call sign KK6 VDR, extra class privileges. So hopefully I'll be talking to the 3 million hams around the world to recruit them into the Transhumanist Party and vice versa, and do citizen science for progress and flourishing abundance. So yeah, live long and prosper, everyone.
Awesome. Maura, do you want to leave us with any wise words?
Yeah, well, you know, it's about the time. It's urgent. It's a sense of urgency of where we are right now. So yes, understand where you are right now. What can we do to continue enhancing ourselves as a humans that we are? with synergy, with compassion, with empathy all the time. There is always someone that needs some support. Even if you think they don't, just say it. Hey, if you need anything, I'm here for you. One word can change a lot. And then learning about transhumanism or any other topics that you're interested is always welcome. Never stop learning. That will be my last say on this.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you very much to all my panelists or guests here. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks to the people in the live chat. Looks like there's been some lively conversations, not always on topic, but that's the nature of the beast. I will hope to invite these guys back again for future talks on what will no doubt be very interesting subjects. All of the things that have been mentioned today, they warrant further discussion for sure. Transhumanist Party, it looks to be a really interesting place for a whole range of people with a varied set of interests, or wanting to understand where humanity can go and how to solve the most pressing problems, existential threats that we are facing. And that is a worthy cause, no doubt. I mean, there is no worthier cause, right? Anyway, thanks to everyone yet again. Please stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, and share, all that kind of YouTube stuff. Hit bells, blow whistles, so on and so forth. Thank you to my guests. Stay on the line and we'll chat in the green room, so to speak. But in the meantime, take care, everybody. And thanks yet again. Toodle pips.